Now, there are many applications in the application layer that help to support multimedia applications. For example, we talk about multicast. Right? Now, if you want to do multicast, then you need something called IGMP. It's called Internet Group Management Protocol. And this is the protocol that helped you to manage the membership relationship. You may say, I got one multicast group, I got another multicast group, and so on and so forth. And each user want to see, are you in this group or are you in this group? Okay. So if there are two main commands, one is I issue a membership query, okay, and ask each client, okay, which multicast group are you in, and then there's a membership report that says, yep, I'm in multicast group 1. Okay, that's it. It's actually a very simple, lightweight protocol. Now, it may also actually leave this group and say I'm going to join 2 now. Okay, and there's an optional leave group command. But in the principle of soft state, which we're going to talk more about in advanced material part of lecture 19, we actually don't need to make this mandatory. It's optional. You may wonder, well, if you leave the group, shouldn't you tell them that, hey, I'm leaving the group? Well, because the principle of soft state says that unless you keep periodically renewing your membership, in this case it's a membership thing, then I will assume you are already out of the group. So unless you confirm otherwise in the positive, I will assume that if I don't hear periodic update from you, I will assume it's a negative. Okay, you have, in this case, left the group. Now, when you want to do IPTV service, okay, and people want to have the instant channel change, so-called ICC experience, then it takes some time, as you can see, both to get to next GOP, but also to run through these membership query and report as you change channel. Okay, each time you change channel, you're basically leaving one group and joining, trying to join another group. And it takes some time to complete that process. And in the meantime, there will be a few seconds in that order of gap. Then you can either tell the users, you know what, you're actually watching IPTV now, so forget about the old TV experience. You cannot flip channel like that. There will be a little frozen screen, or your channel change doesn't take effect for a few seconds. But if you say, I want the consumers to be happy and not complain about losing that TV experience, then you need a little unicast. Unicast can help while you leave this group and before you are accepted into the next group, actually a little unicast session come to you. Okay, so to all those people who are flipping through the channel like crazy, and if their IPTV provider actually offers instant channel change experience, then each time you flip through 100 channel, you're actually creating 99 unicast sessions to you. Okay, for the interim between leaving and joining the group. There are quite a few other protocols. For example, SIP is a very famous protocol invented in the early days of multimedia on the internet. It established a call between a caller and a callee over an IP network, and then it manages things like adding a caller, transferring the call, holding the call, and changing the encoding for the voice, and so on. You can also take it together with video and provide a video conferencing. Here's another one. It's called a real-time streaming protocol. Now, we talked about streaming just now, for example, YouTube and Netflix. Actually, it takes a little control overhead. There's a little control overhead involved even in that apparently simple operation. Let's say here's your iPad, okay, and you say, I would like to watch a certain video streamed from Netflix or YouTube. So what happens is that you open a browser, or maybe in these days an app, okay, and they will send, say, an HTTP signal to the web browser. And this could be a Google or Amazon or Netflix web browser. And this web browser will then give you a content description. And this content description is then sent to the operating system of your device, like iOS or Android. Then it looks at the kind of playback buffer that is going to receive and then open the correct media player with the correct configuration. Then it can set up the direct connection with a different server, the media server that actually hosts the actual content of the video itself, not just the control signals. And then once that setup is done, the media stream will then go down from the media server to the playback software on your device. Okay. Now later in lecture 19, we'll talk about the kind of impact that these control overhead incur to your end-to-end throughput. All right, so that's compression. That is a very quick summary of 3 different application layer protocols. Now let's look at transport layer. Now you may say transport layer, well, what more is to be said? You've got TCP, transmission control protocol, including its congestion control feature that we talked about in lecture 14. Well, it turns out that a lot of multimedia applications do not use TCP. Instead, they use something called UDP. Now, UDP, unlike TCP, is a connectionless kind of transport layer protocol. So it is, strictly speaking, not correct to say transport layer in the internet is connection-oriented. Actually, only the variant of TCP is connection-oriented. Its sibling, UDP, is connectionless. It means that it does not try to establish, maintain an end-to-end connection reliability. First, for example, there is no congestion control. Okay, if you flood the network, well, then so be it. There is, in fact, not even retransmission of errored packets. Okay, if the end host says that, hey, I'm not getting this packet, says, well, that's not my problem. Okay? In fact, you don't even send acknowledgement back to the sender through the network. So there's no transmission and obviously no congestion control either. So why would somebody want to use UDP that's so simple and featureless? Well, it's exactly because it is so simple, and that's why it's used. Okay? For example, there is a trade-off between latency versus reliability. Okay? In TCP, you do have end-to-end connection reliability, but it takes more time. For example, I send you acknowledgement, and then suddenly I don't send you acknowledgement or duplicate acknowledgement, and you say, gee, that packet is lost, so I have to resend it. By the time this is received at the receiver side, maybe it's already out of sequence. In the playback process, now the playback, usually unless it's a frozen screen, then there's nothing you can do. Otherwise, it doesn't want to wait until all the packets are in order. You have to keep playing. Okay, maybe you just have to tolerate a blurred screen. Or it will do what's called error concealment. It will try to conceal the error using video encoding techniques in the application layer. So it says that, you know what, application layer would take care of the reliability. Okay, if you can keep playing, it will just keep playing. If you need to conceal the error, use like what we saw just a few minutes ago, using the previous frame, then you use the previous frame. So don't worry about reliability. Okay, application layer take care of it. Transport layer, you just don't incur additional latency because of, say, handshake needed to establish end-to-end TCP. For example, trying to get all the correct packets forward. Another reason is that UDP, because it doesn't do this, doesn't do that, it can actually run multicast, support multicast more easily. For TCP, well, if I transmit to 1 million viewers of Olympics games and one of them didn't get the packet, what do? Do I retransmit or what? And other than UDP, there is another protocol called RTP, also in layer 4, that also or runs a lot of videos, called a real-time transport protocol, RTP. Okay, in particular, it supports, say, voice over IP. Okay, your telephone system running on top of VoIP. So here you have to support many types of media format, including future ones. So you specify a range of profiles and payload formats. And then you try to make the header independent of the media type. So we won't have time to go into much detail of RTP. Just in the passing, want to mention that UDP has another good use compared to TCP is for network management protocol. We will see more of this in lecture 19, including, say, SNMP, which is a standard network management protocol, and also RIP that we saw in the routing lecture 13. And the reason is because UDP maintains very few states and therefore can support more parallel sessions compared to TCP. It also doesn't need handshake or tear down of an end-to-end connection, so it doesn't incur any overhead. When it is a small packet, these overhead actually matter. And also, it's got a smaller overhead. Okay, it got 8 instead of 20 bytes of headers. Again, for small headers, for small packets like some management packet, this difference between 8 and 20 bytes in a header makes a difference. So for all these 3 reasons, UDP is also preferred over TCP for network management. We'll pick this up later. So the last part of the lecture before advanced material is to go through another example. Now we talked about jitter, we talked about a frozen screen and so on. When we need to play back a frame and that the frame has not arrived yet. Okay. Or let's say the frame is chopped into packets at the IP layer, the packets hasn't arrived yet. So what can you do about that? How do you enhance quality in this case? Well, in advanced material, we'll see quite a few other quality enhancement methods, but here is a simple and quite universally followed idea that says, well, think about trade-off. Okay, you're going to basically add redundancy to over-provision something in order to achieve quality that matters to you. Say, jitter matters. Okay, once you start playing back, you have to keep playing back at the uniform speed. Then, if you are not sure about the uncertainty of the network, say introduces varying delay, then you try to add redundancy, like wait before you start playing back. This is the playback latency, okay? So that you have enough in stock even if there is a variation in delay. And this, of course, introduces a trade-off, the trade-off between how much you wait initially before you feel comfortable enough, hey, even if I don't get all the packets on time, I still got something in the stock, versus jitter. Okay, higher latency smoothens jitters more. Now this actually quite a simple design idea can be illustrated in a variety of ways. In a homework, you look at a more realistic case where you don't know the arrival time of the future packets. But here, let's say we look at a much simpler one where you know ahead of time when the future packets will arrive, and your job now is to decide when should I start playing back the first packet. Okay. In other words, what's the initial latency? So I can illustrate this with this kind of timing diagram. On the x-axis is the time in seconds, or better still in units of some kind. And the vertical axis is packets or frames. And there are 3 curves you see here, 3 staircases shaped curves. One is the transmitted packets, okay, at the video source, so call that V. And since we're assuming a smooth playback, so it has to follow a uniform staircase. So for every second, it will generate or transmit 1 packet. And then you wait for another second, you transmit a second one. So that's the staircase for 4 packets. Now, if the network is guaranteed quality, you're going to receive the same kind of shape, uniform shape at the receiver end. But the network is not. The internet is a best effort. So in particular, by the time you pass it through the network, these 4 packets, assuming they arrive at all, will arrive likely in different timing sequence. So this uniformity here is destroyed. For example, first packet arrives here after quite a bit time because next packet goes through a different path, was congested along the way, a different router, so on. Okay, you wait a longer time before you get the next packet. Then suddenly the next packet actually go through a good path, then arrives quite soon afterwards, and then so on and so forth. So this is not uniform. Now, if you play back immediately the moment you get this first packet, then actually you are stuck. Because then, after a second, you need to play back the next one. You don't have the next one yet, because the network introduced a best effort uncertainty. But you can wait. You can say, I'm not going to play back at this point. I'm going to wait. So the question is, how long do you wait? In the simpler case where you know ahead of time or can estimate accurately the future arrival times of the other packets, then the problem is actually trivial. But we can make it sound like complicated. So here's what we're going to try to do that. Right, this is the arrival curve, right, the received packets. And your job is to say, if I know A, then how do I design my playback packets, the P curve? That's this curve. Notice this P curve here got to be uniform. Okay, 1 second per packet in the playback, just like in the generation. All right. So when should I start playing back? Once I start, I got to keep going at this rate. In other words, I want to push geometrically this uniform step curve staircase to the left. Okay, reduce the initial latency as much as possible, but I cannot push it all the way where one of these packets actually you need to play back before it arrives. Okay, so that's the challenge that we face. Okay, again, you're given the VAs and then you try to design the P curve. Now in this case, let's say V is, to be precise, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the timing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, uniform. And A is not uniform timing anymore. It's start with 5.8, and then 7.5, and then 8, and then 9.4. Okay, in this numerical example. So our optimization, which actually is, you see, is a trivial one, but nonetheless we can write it down. You want to minimize the difference between playback with a little abuse of notation. Let's use PI to represent the ith packet's arrival time on the P curve, playback curve, minus VI. Okay, summing over I, such that the PIs are step staircase. So Pi plus 1 equals P sub I plus 1 unit of time. And you cannot play back something that you don't have. So Pi must be bigger than or equal to the corresponding AI, the arrival of the ith packet. If you know AI, then this is actually a trivial problem. Okay? Why? Because you can simply just slide this to the left as much as possible until for some K star, say, packet, okay, it exactly lies below this. Okay, so for example, like this. Okay, you wait a little bit of latency, okay, and then the next time you need to play back something, you have this packet already. So it sits right below it. So push it to the left as much as possible, and yet make sure that P curve lies below the A curve. So all you need to do is to find that critical packet K star. In this case, K star is just 2. Okay. So what you need to do is to say that, well, what is the time that I can play this back is 7.5 seconds, okay, because that's A2. If that's the case for P2, then P1, therefore by uniform step size assumption, must be 6.5. Okay, so that is my starting time for the playback. Okay, so the playback latency is P1 minus A1, 6.5 seconds minus 5.8 equals 0.7 seconds. This is the amount of latency you have to suffer initially in order to guarantee a smooth playback. So here's one simple idea, okay, of providing quality basically over provision some other dimension, in this case in time, in order to compensate for uncertainty in this best effort network. So in summary, we have seen that IP has become the basis of video content. We are witnessing a big change as the content is being decoupled from both the delivery channel and the devices. We're not glued to TV and the TV channels anymore. Okay, we have so many different kind of video over internet options that even IPTV is getting out of fashion, and we have so many choices of devices to watch them. And we saw that QoS can be, quality of service can be provided by different mechanisms, and we also saw layering in action, how compression work with application and work with transport layer to enable, of course, on top of the rest of the layers, the video delivery. And we know that video is already about 2/3 and soon will be 70 to 80% by volume of the internet traffic, including mobile traffic in the coming years. So this is truly an amazing fact that the internet has grown to be ready to take on so much video content. And we've seen just tip of the iceberg behind the technology ideas that made that happen. So next lecture, we're going to swing back to the wireless. So we talked about content distribution. We talked about video a little bit today. And next lecture, we will go back to visit wireless, but this time Wi-Fi.